Hello viewers, my name is Wanju Gunderi, the founder of Girls Awazo Foundation, and we create awareness on developmental disabilities. Now, today we want to do something different. We usually tell you how the government has laid out policies that should support people with developmental disabilities in matters of access to health, education, and access to justice, and much more. And so I decided to host someone who will be explaining to us the actual situation on the ground. So we are more like going to have the real talk. So without further ado, I'll ask her to introduce herself.
Thank you very much, Wanjugu, for having me.
Welcome.
It's always a pleasure to have a chat with you.
Yeah.
My name's Dr. Jane Wambui Mwiruri. I'm a parent of children within the spectrum and your guest for today.
Yeah, so I think I'll just go straight to asking you the question.
Yeah.
And I want us to start with family.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know that a basic family needs to have mother, father, and the siblings, right? Mm-hmm. Is there anything that prevents people with developmental disabilities to have the basic unit of a family?
That question has a yes and a no in this answer. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
If they're children, there should be nothing that should stop them from having the basic understanding of family.
Yes.
Family is basically people who love you, whether they're yours biologically or not. So you'd probably have a mother or mothers,
Yes.
father or fathers, siblings. Okay. Most of them might be your biological siblings, others should be adopted. But because of the way our society is coming from an African point of view and more so Kenyan, we tend to find that most families with persons with intellectual disability and physical disabilities, you will find the matriarchal end of the family only existing. It becomes rare and then not the norm to actually find a complete family. This is because of the stigma that comes with disability. And therefore, most people will say, this did not come from my family, it came from yours. And since it's easier for the man to walk away since he doesn't have the burden of being the biological mother of these children or the mother, then you'll find that it does not exist. But when it comes to persons with disabilities, adults, there's a lot of hurdles to go over to actually have your own family. Most so for persons with what we either call under the government description, mental disability, and medical descriptions, intellectual disabilities, and from a social point of view, psychosocial disabilities. For them, one, the law, okay? The law has locked them out of actually having independence. And for you to have a family of your own, you need the legal independence. Because if you're getting married to someone, then there's a legal paperwork, there's a legal commitment, there's a contract. And in the way our law is set up, they cannot sign that contract. When they turn 18, they still have to be either under trusteeship, guardianship, on a lot of things. And the law therefore locks them out of that. You will find a few who have families, but if it was ever tested under the law, those units don't exist. Yeah, because the law does not protect them. Even a contract signed by somebody with an intellectual disability is null and void.
Yes.
It never existed in the first place. So that denies them the right to have families.
So let me take you a little back. So assuming that I have a disability and I've gotten to the age of 18, so it means that if I want to get married and I've chosen someone to get married to, we cannot go and sign any legal documentation.
The law does not give us space for that. Yeah, I'm more an advocate of the law, but it's something I've researched because I have to protect my own children.
Yeah.
They would need parental permission. And if the parental permission is not granted, they would have to get the state permission, which then means they'd have to go to court to get permission for somebody to certify that they have their mental capacity to understand the implications of what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. So you will find a lot of the few marriages that we've seen in this country involving persons with intellectual disabilities involve the parents from the start to the end of that paperwork.
Yeah.
But if it was challenged by anyone in a court of law,
it would not stand.
It will not hold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But that does not mean they don't have the feelings, they don't have the need, and they want to have families. They do. They are human beings like everyone else.
Yeah.
Just that the law does not support that.
So have you, in your line of work, have you come across families that are embarrassed of their kids and so they will hide them, or they do not want to admit that they have children who have disability.
That is a reality, and it's a very painful reality in this country. You'll find families that even move houses the moment somebody discovers they have a child who cannot interact as to what the society norms are.
Yeah.
You'll also find those who, because they don't know any better, they've had to lock up their kids. We have a lot of juvenile institutions and boarding schools, which is also against the law to institutionalize a person with a mental disability. So there are those who, because they don't want to be seen with their children, they don't want to admit they're the parents of these children, because of maybe the stigma, or they're just tired of being the parents. They'll either lock up the children in an institution, lock them up at home, pay staff to take care of them, or simply just, I've come across cases where the child is medicated on a daily basis just simply to keep them in one place and not be a bother to anyone. Yeah? So that does happen. It's an abuse of the person. It's an infringement of the person's rights as a human being, as a child. But then there is also those ones whereby the child is not hidden, but it's locked up because the parents don't know otherwise.
Or the parents have to go out and look for
Or
food.
they have to go out to look for food and even livelihood. And the only way to keep that person safe is to actually leave them behind a locked door. Because it's the safest. To you and I, it looks bad, but it's the safest, because if that person goes out of their care, we'll probably be reading about an unknown child in social media who maybe the police have picked up. They might meet an accident, get molested, get abused. So sometimes that lockup is based out of necessity. But the ones who are locked up out of stigma and discrimination is a very big population in this country, and also because of cultural norms, because we have these cultural norms that we've passed down the road of it's a curse. So you find such families in place.
So I also want us to talk about gender-based violence in families of individuals who have these disabilities.
I think it's just gotten more limelight right now as to what happens behind the closed doors of families with special needs. Just like every other aspect of society, gender-based violence has been there, and basically family violence, without irrespective of gender. But now when it comes to people with intellectual or mental disability, one, they may not understand what's going on. They may not be able to defend themselves or even report it. So it goes on longer. And it becomes longer. And also because of the circumstances of what disability does to a home. The easiest I can put this in perspective is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. You're permanently under stress. There are families whereby doors have to stay locked because those kids are, we call them Usain Bolts, because they will split off at the second. And if you have more than one splits that way, the other one goes the other way. You have to keep dangerous objects out of reach. So you're ever permanently on edge. Somebody has done research and discovered parents raising special needs kids have the same levels or even sometimes higher levels of stress and anxiety like soldiers in active war. And unlike the soldier in active war who knows there will be an end and I'll go home, or my time will come and end and go home, for these parents there's no end. Because some of these disabilities are for life, and the level of understanding may never change. So you find that probably the violence did not come out of being mean. It became because there was another now mental stress over, and the only reaction that person got off is that. I've had situations whereby, in the words of the person, his head bombed. He just doesn't know what he did, and the next thing he finds himself in jail because he murdered his kids. But he didn't see it coming.